It was a crisp autumn morning when I received a notice from the HOA claiming they were taking over my 150-year-old ranch. According to the letter, they intended to assert control over my land, enforce community standards, and restrict my use of the property. The audacity of their claim was staggering, but I had long anticipated such overreach. What they didn't know was that I held the mortgage on their office building, giving me leverage they could never have imagined. The situation began subtly. The HOA sent letters, posted signs, and attempted to intimidate me with threats of fines, legal action, and forced compliance. Their assumption was that tradition, intimidation, and bureaucracy would coerce me into yielding. I calmly reviewed the notices, photographing each one and documenting every interaction. Years of dealing with HOA Karen had taught me that preparation and strategy are more powerful than fear and threats. When I finally decided to confront the issue, I scheduled a meeting with the HOA board. They arrived expecting compliance, assuming that their paperwork, legal jargon, and threats would compel me to concede. Instead, I calmly presented the truth. I held the mortgage on their office, which gave me the ability to exercise authority in ways they had not anticipated. The room fell silent as the gravity of the revelation sank in. Their assumed control over my ranch was irrelevant. I had leverage they could not counter. Karen, predictably, tried to assert her usual dominance. She waved documents, shouted about rules, and insisted that the HOA had every right to enforce standards on my property. I listened patiently, allowing her to exhaust her arguments while calmly preparing my response. When the time was right, I presented the legal papers proving my mortgage ownership, demonstrating that any attempt to enforce control over my ranch could result in immediate consequences for them. The board members were visibly shocked. They had assumed their bureaucracy gave them power, but the tables had turned completely. My calm, deliberate presentation, backed by evidence, left them with no options to challenge me. Any attempt to proceed would be not only futile but potentially legally damaging to their organization. Karen's face, usually brimming with confidence, paled as she realized her strategy had collapsed. Neighbors and local observers, who had long witnessed Karen's antics, watched as her authority crumbled in real time. The combination of legal leverage, preparation, and calm authority rendered her threats meaningless. By the end of the meeting, it was clear. The HOA could not control my ranch, enforce their rules, or intimidate me in any meaningful way. Reflecting on the incident, I realized how important strategy and foresight are in confronting overreach. Karen and her HOA had assumed that fear, bureaucracy, and intimidation were sufficient to enforce compliance. They had not accounted for leverage, preparation, and calm assertiveness. By understanding the balance of power and acting decisively, I not only protected my property but also exposed the limits of their authority. By evening, the ranch was peaceful once again. HOA Karen's overreach had been neutralized, her authority diminished, and my position secure. The event became a defining example in the community of how arrogance and assumed power can be rendered completely powerless when met with preparation, evidence, and strategic action.